It was stopped.
You were using agency and special forces personnel. You were using agency suppliers. How are you shipping the stuff?
Through an agency freight forwarder.
The latest CIA study describes Gaddafi as, quote, the most prominent state sponsor and participant in international terrorism, end quote. Isn't there some irony that you were using CIA suppliers, shippers, in some cases CIA personnel, to work for Gaddafi?
Gaddafi does not have the capability nor the facility to manufacture weapons at all. So we had to get them from leading powers. How they were gotten from leading powers, in most cases, the leading powers were cognizant of it. If they denied they were not cognizant of this thing, then where is their intelligence service?
Well, here we come to the central issue. We have the names of 43 people, American manufacturers, past and present members of the Special Forces, the CIA, who collaborated with you and Ed Wilson on the Libyan operation. Why was it permitted?
Wilson and myself collectively had enough information and intelligence on current and past operations that would prove to be a great embarrassment to the United States government.
So in a sense, you were blackmailing the CIA?
It was an unspoken blackmail, if you will. There was never any overtures made to threaten the CIA with blackmail, at least on my behalf, on my part.
Now, could there be another explanation, that the work that you were doing in Libya was useful to the CIA?
They would have a knowledge of the amount of training, the skill that the people possessed, the possibilities of them launching operations on their own successful operations. They would have a psychological profile of the people that were trained. That may be of use to them.
What do you think Gaddafi would feel if he knew that CIA had penetrated his secret training facilities through you and Ed Wilson?
I can't speak for Gaddafi, but I could speak on behalf of Amin. And Amin said that he would be very, very disappointed if the agency had not penetrated his operations.
Why would he say that?
He felt that the CIA was one of the top 3 intelligence organizations in the world, and certainly he didn't put his state research in that league.
We questioned Terpil for hours about Libya, until we were almost certain that the so-called mastermind of international terrorism was in fact ignorant of the full implications of the role he had been permitted to play.
Why are there supposedly in the neighborhood of 42 unindicted co-conspirators? Why did these things in China Lake, which is a very secret facility, why did these people leave our employ in Libya, which we are not denying that they work for us in Libya? They left our employ in Libya, went back to China Lake, which is a very, very secret operation, clandestine operation. And these people went back to work there. The other ones we had, which were CIA employees, or we had people besides the CIA employees, we had active duty special forces people, which were on 30 days leave to work for us in another location.
In Washington, we approached the CIA, the FBI, and the Justice Department for comment on Terpil's activities, but this was consistently refused. But the implications of the Libyan operation extend far beyond Washington. As there are no direct flights between the United States and Libya, Terpil needed reliable transfer points in Europe where lethal material and armed personnel could be switched to Libyan flights without official interference. According to Marquehi, London's Heathrow Airport was the most important link in the supply chain.
It's almost amusing the way Frank would conduct himself at Heathrow. It's probably the best example I can think of. Some of our people were walking around Heathrow somewhat disoriented and intoxicated, and with them they were carrying some concealed cans of binary explosives. Frank had promised these people that he would meet them at the airport when their plane landed. They would never have to worry about going through customs or anything else, and they could go directly to Libya. Well, Frank hadn't made it to meet the flight on its incoming leg. So I had to rouse Frank and make sure he got out to the airport before something difficult, before London was blown off the face of the map.
Yes, that's in essence true. The The shipment of the material was never to be bought out of the international zone. In other words, it was supposed to be transshipped immediately to another aircraft. Harper had made a mistake. He went right through the customs with the material in question, and I did have some associates within the British government at the airport that helped Harper and the material back on the plane.
So when a man walks into Heathrow Airport with enough explosives to practically destroy London, you've got people there who can sort this out.
Yeah, I had certain facilities made available to me that the average bear wouldn't have had.
Off the record, Mulcahy named Terpil's high-level contact with British intelligence. Terpil confirmed the name and claimed that the man in question had done a good deal more than smooth the way with the British authorities.
In some cases where we needed some material and it wasn't available from one of our sources, he actually freely gave us some other sources of possible supply. In fact, at one time, he himself was in Libya aboard a private aircraft. He had access to privileged information. He had access to operations that were going on. I'm sure he was still active duty, and we regarded him as our professional babysitter.
Using an unlisted number that Terpil had provided, we telephoned the babysitter's home. A meeting was set up in this London hotel. It was to last for 3 hours. The man confirmed his association with Terpil, but denied that he had been involved in any unsanctioned operation. He told us that the private plane had been provided officially and openly by the government of Libya. He went on to suggest that Wilson and Terpil's Libyan operation was in the best long-term interests of the Western powers. He also warned us that if we were recording the meeting, we would end up, quote, under a bush in Surrey, end quote. With the help of his powerful friends, Terpil had reached a peak 7 years after his resignation from the CIA. He had holdings in Switzerland, a hotel in the north of England, a mews house in this fashionable area of London, and a Japanese-style mansion which he chose to build less than a mile from the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. In December 1979, Terpil seemed unassailable. When the New York City police unslung their guns and toppled an empire built on sales to Khadaffi, Bokassa, Amin, and the Shah of Iran.
Put it down! Put it down, my friend, that's it. On your head! Put them on your head! Put them on your head! Don't move!
Just as the federal case in Washington had produced the Mulcahy's and the Luke Thompsons, so the New York case helped us to flesh out a minor part of Terpil's British operation, though leaving his high-level contacts untouched. When the 2 New York undercover detectives had bought their assassination rifle, their binary explosives, and their strychnine, they decided to put Terpil to a real test. Could he provide 10,000 machine guns, enough to equip a revolutionary army? The information that follows from the 2 detectives was sworn in evidence in court.
He indicated to us, Detective Rodriguez and myself, that he had machine guns and all types of weapons, including cannons and bombs, in a couple of warehouses in England.
In order to get the weapons out of England,